And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden Deek. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. If you have already, please hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. You can also rate the podcast and review the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. It would also be greatly appreciated. Keep hitting those subscribes on YouTube. It's awesome to see those numbers climbing. So please do it. And I'm happy to be joined by my friend, Thomas Petersen. Thomas, we got a lot to talk about, and I have a hard out in about 25 minutes. So
yeah. Short
how are
things,
things, man?
How are things? Can we start with the elephant in the room that you got the job at the score?
Yes, yeah. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I was actually going to announce it on my podcast. I haven't really told the podcast listeners. I'm sure everyone knows, but
I just broke it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can.
Thank you so much, man. It's been an awesome first week. I started last week. I got my first article out. Preston Williams getting released by the Dolphins was my first one. It's just breaking news, right? So you're not going to get a lot of opinions from me at the score. My opinions will be on Twitter. So I'm just the breaking news guy. Basically.
We'll keep all the hard opinions and takes here.
Yes,
and then you can go be a professional somewhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty much what my job is. But thank you, man. Really appreciate it. Lots of hard work on your end and my end here to get.
Yeah, you worked your butt off, man.
Yeah, so really
well deserved.
But again, I got a hard out in 20 minutes, so let's get to it.
Sorry, yeah.
No room for sentimental. Don't apologize, man. I love getting compliments, man. Who doesn't? But
can't get sentimental. We have all these things to talk about.
Yeah, Thomas, Eagles made 2 trades in the last 24 hours.
2 big ones.
2 big ones, yes. Let's start with the one that just happened. The Philadelphia Eagles were traded a former first-round pick, Jalen Reagor, to the Minnesota Vikings for a conditional 2024 fourth-round pick, and then a 2023 7th-round pick. Thomas, instant reaction to this. Why don't you tell the listeners what you told me before we started this?
So I was driving here. I was driving on my way home. And a friend of mine sent me a text. So while I was driving, I had the phone in like a cup holder, and saw the text. It's just that Reagor's gone. I was like, what? Because I was waiting for it all day yesterday. Because I thought it made so much sense with the fact that they're saving money and all this. We'll get into all that. So I was just waiting for it all day to yesterday. And so when news came out, I had to swing in. I had to park the car to look at my phone and see what actually happened. And I'm so glad that got done. That had to happen. It was the last, I think the last missing piece of the turnaround of the roster that has been this offseason, which has been absolutely amazing and bonkers. And the fact that they're getting a conditional 4th that can turn into a 5th, probably going to turn into a 5th just based on some statistical measures, and a 7th-round pick, basically the value that they traded away to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. It's just it's an absurd move. It's so wild that J-Jaw was flipped into actual trade value, and Reagor, considering how ineffective he's been and how disappointing he's looked on the field, that Howie was actually able to flip these guys for something, because we know that he fucked up with those picks, and we've been hammering that home for so long, but now he actually turned it around and turned it into a positive that will contribute this season. That's wild.
I could picture like the car behind you, like going up to your window. After, like, what the hell are you doing?
The hell, man?
Reagor just got traded.
He's like, oh yeah, okay. I see. Even in Denmark, that's like, okay. You know, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, all the way in Denmark, you scored to the Cyber record trade. That is hilarious. But no, you nailed it. I like how you said that this is kind of the missing piece, and I love that that analogy for this trade, because you're 100% right. Jalen Reagor didn't have a role on this roster. I've been kind of preaching this. There's no point in bringing him back as a 5th wide receiver. A 5th wide receiver on a roster has to be able to contribute in special teams or some point somehow on the offense. Eagles offense is going to be a strict 3 to 4 wide receiver offense. The 5th wide receiver is not going to get very much playing time. And Jalen Reagor has proven that he can't contribute on special teams. We saw the drop punt in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playoff game. We saw a bunch of mishaps on special teams. He's just not.
He had 2 against the Bucs.
Yeah. So he's just not fit to be on the Eagles roster. Can Jalen Reagor be on an NFL roster somewhere? 100%. But on this, I think he's good enough to crack a 53
we'll see.
Somewhere. We'll see.
Somewhere.
But not here. Not in Philadelphia. I love this move. I'm surprised I thought it would be like a 6th-round pick they might have got from, or 7th. I didn't even think they're like I kept going back and forth on it. Like maybe they're not going to get an asset, but then the wheels started turning yesterday, and it kind of sounded like they would. And I thought maybe like a conditional 6th to a 7th, but to get a conditional 4th is pretty cool. And it's
awesome. That's
a good trade by Howie. Yeah, and it ends I think this is a big one. It ends the Jalen Reagor saga in Philly because it's been. Let's be blunt here. It was a flat out disaster taking him over Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and I think we can finally park that now. We all know how bad it was with J-Jaw and with Rager. We've been hammering it for so long because the occasion to bring it up has been there for so many times, and I understand it fully. I also caught myself in these situations like, can we not talk about it anymore? But then something comes up where it's like it's natural to bring that up in the line of thought of disaster picks, or whenever Justin Jefferson selects all pro, it's like you get all these situations where it's just natural to bring up. But now I feel like now we can leave it behind. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Zach Pascal, and my guy number 16, Quez Watkins. We have a super good receiver group now that is deeper than hell. Yeah. Macklin, Deshaun, Avant, those guys. So I think we can finally put it to bed now. We're in a good spot. That whole era of Reagor and J-Jaw is gone.
Yeah, and in the Justin Jefferson thing, like it was clearly a miss. Like it was everyone knows it and everyone knew it, and just flat out happy that Howie was able to kind of rip the Band-Aid off, got rid of JJ, I think Whiteside, got rid of Jalen Reagor. It's a new era. And I had this in a tweet. I said, thank God they got AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, because you don't have to think of people miss on draft picks. Of course, it was a disaster taking them, but to get AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
Now that we're talking, now all these guys that are going through the waivers, and you're bringing up some memories of bad draft picks. I mean, remember Taco Charlton for the Cowboys?
He got waived yesterday, did he not?
Yeah, he did. He did. I just saw that one. It's like, that was really a bad one too.
Yeah. Everyone missed on draft picks. It happens. But again, this was a colossal miss because they were looking for a wide receiver, and of course the next.
Yeah, and Justin Jefferson was right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But again, like he fixed it, and it's interesting too. I was thinking not a lot of general managers get the chance to fix their mistakes, right? Like the lifespan of a GM is probably 3 to 5 years if you're not doing well. A coach is like 1 to 2. So like you don't. And we've discussed this many times. I would have probably fired Howie Roseman. I would have fired Howie Roseman after 2020. I would. I would.
And it looks bad now. Like I tweeted that today. Every single criticism I've had of him, even the Carson Wentz move looks good. I mean, yeah, he turned that thing around.
Completely flipped the ship. Of course, they still have to play games, but the roster.
I mean, yeah, sure, but I mean, objectively, the team is so much better. And even if Hurts fails, they're looking at 2 first-round picks in the coming draft, 2 second-round picks in the draft after that, with a bunch of picks like sprinkled in with all of these minor moves that's been made. So the team is in a good spot right now.
And the way you have to look at the season, if let's say something does go wrong, which stuff is going to go wrong, it's going to be interesting, going to be stuff that happens. Fans can't look at Howie Roseman and blame him, right? Like he did everything he could. What else could have Howie Roseman done? Maybe not have Jalen Hurts as the head coach or the quarterback, and maybe not have Jonathan Gannon as the defensive coordinator. That's a tough nitpicking if you're going to nitpick at a GM. Howie Roseman has done everything possible to make this roster as good as they can get for the 2022 season. So I think he should be not blameless, but if the season does go wrong, I don't think the blame should be set on him.
And also, you and I have talked about this a lot of times, especially during draft period. This with Jalen Reagor and JJ Arcega-Whitesides coming from like minor college football conferences that now they're going up like was TCU, and JJ was from Stanford, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so now their top 2 wide receivers are from Alabama and Ole Miss. And they've been drafting Landon Dickerson. They've been drafting Jordan Davis, Josh Dean,
Joby off the.
So can we say maybe they learned a little bit from this?
Yeah,
maybe it's a coincidence, but
yeah, you're right. He loves his Alabama guys going forward. Okay, anything else on the Reagor trade?
Nah, I'm at peace with it.
Yes, yeah, I'm very. It feels like a monkey off everyone's back in Philly.
It does. It felt like it was. It hadn't happened. Yeah.
Okay. Another big trade. I think this one has more ramifications on this season. The Philadelphia
sure.
Eagles traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They gave up a 5th-round pick in 2023, the 5th or 2024? I think it's 2023, I believe. And then the
Yeah, I think you're right.
2024 6th-round pick, the worst of their 6th-round pick, which I thought was very interesting. It was the pick that they got for Ugo Amadi, which is just absolutely insane. And then they get a 2025 7th-round pick back. So, like you brought up at the beginning of the show, they basically recouped what they traded away, what they got traded to the Saints for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They got back in the Jalen Reagor trade, so you can almost call that a wash. Thomas, this trade I think is going to be an I think it's not underrated, but this is a trade that could potentially have huge ramifications for this team this season because he fills a massive hole on the roster. The only hole on the starting 24 spots or 22 spots, on offense and defense that the Eagles still had was safety, and you fill it with a young, exciting Philly guy type of football player.
Yeah, that's attitude through the roof.
Yeah.
And this was I'm trying to think here real quickly if this was the first massive casualty of the cap situation in New Orleans because they've been wheeling and dealing so many of these and restructuring a lot of these contracts. So they've been, Terron Armstead, I guess you can say was another casualty, although dealt with a lot of injury issues and stuff like this. But Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was absolutely a guy that they wanted to keep on the squad and simply had to get rid of him because of the contract situation and get some of him at this point instead of kicking the rocks down the road and becoming more and more obvious towards the next offseason that they weren't going to be able to get anything for him. And so Howard he struck gold in one of these contract year players. And they don't have too much tied up at the secondary moving forward. They have Darius Slay on a contract, but that's about it. James Bradbury is a 1-year deal. Chauncey is what, 24?
24 years old.
So, I mean, and he already has 3 years of NFL experience where he's been playing really solid football. He's quick.
He was really good though down the stretch last year. He got off to a tough start.
He's fast. I mean, I looked at the first 3 games that the Saints had last season. The one against the Packers, he's really fast, and he's quicker than fast, but he's not slow at all. I mean, he can really travel with guys down the field, and even on a couple of reps where they had Devontae Adams in the slot, he followed him all the way downfield, no problem. So
he was down the last 8 games this season. He was awesome for the Saints.
Yeah.
He played
and Saints
really
play
well.
kind of the same type defense that the Eagles do. Where they usually have a single high, and then when the offense motions, they can flip the safety and the slot cornerback, so they kind of transition into that deep position. So I mean, he fits super naturally in as both a nickel type player in those packages, but also being able to play deep. But it also limits what you have to expect from Epps, because now his role can be more tailored to him having his first season as a starter, really, and you can use Gardner-Johnson as that do-it-all type of safety, while you have Epps maybe in a little bit more limited role of primarily focusing on playing deep safety, for example, or box safety.
Yeah, it gives Jonathan Gannon way more options. I'm really curious to see how they use him. He only played 80 snaps as safety last year. He played majority of his snaps as a slot corner.
Yeah, that's true. But when you look at the tape, he also they spin on the defense a lot. So he lines up at slot cornerback, but he's not playing those typical
and that's
they're flat stuff like this.
And on a 3rd down, a lot of times safeties step up and play towards the line of scrimmage. Right? You want to go against your tight end,
right?
Sometimes the slot receivers. So he could start at safety. Like you made a great point. He could start at safety and then he kind of rotates down. And I'm assuming having a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson be able to play man to man on 3rd down, straight up on a tight end or a big slot. The Eagles they didn't have that, right? Marcus Epps and Avonte Maddox are undersized safeties, right? So now this just opens up a vast majority of amount of options for Jonathan Gannon to kind of exploit teams on 3rd down and what he can do to disguise his defenses. So I feel like this is a Jonathan Gannon move. I feel like this is a move that he pushed a lot. I think
it should, because it's the obvious weakness of the team. And now suddenly where you have, it's so absurd how we were talking about we don't have a cornerback 2 and we don't have who's going to be the safeties actually, because we penciled in Anthony Harris as the starter, and then who's going to be starting next to him?
Remember before the year, before training camp, I said watch out for Harris to get cut. Everyone thought I was crazy.
I was just about to say that, though. I was just about to say it. Yeah. I was wondering, should I get is it too much credit in one show? Yeah. But you called it. You said, the only twist is that you said don't be surprised if both Jaquiski and Anthony don't make the team. Mm-hmm. I think the point was that maybe some of these young guys are going to step up. It's not like, Chauncey was wavered. He's on the practice squad now. Kevon Wallace sucked. But yeah, they filled the roles so that they don't need these 2 veterans who really were at the end of their career, and they got a young guy to start.
Exactly, and he's going. This is the other thing too about this trade that people need to remember. They gave up nothing. Like this is a complete win-win scenario for the Philadelphia Eagles. If he doesn't pan out, he goes to free agency. You gave up a 5th and 6th round pick. Cool. Okay. It's worth taking a shot for this team. There's no risk to this. And if he does work out, then you pay him and you have a young 25-year-old building block on your defense. It's a complete win-win on both sides. There's no risk to it.
And he's going to look good in Roddy McLeod's old number.
Yeah, I agree. Him and Epps are a bully duo, eh? It's a nasty duo.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit. I get the Epps excitement. I'm still a little bit cautiously optimistic to see what he will actually become, and if he can take that next step that we really hope that he does. But he's physical. We'll give him that, and whatever quickness and explosiveness that he lacks, Chauncey has that.
Did you see Peter Schrager firing him up on NFL Game Day or NFL Good Morning? No, Peter Schrager did a whole segment on Marcus Epps. He's like, he shouldn't be a question mark. He should be an exclamation mark. Yeah, you should look it up on Twitter. It was pretty. Peter Schrager was getting fired up about Marcus Epps on Good Morning Football and NFL Network. But
that's a weird hill to build.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird hill to lay your flag on. Okay, I got to get out of here in a couple minutes. Anything on the roster that you want to touch on? The 53-man roster's out. There wasn't any surprises to me. Josh Sills making the roster over.
Yeah, that was a little bit surprising, actually. But like Reed Blankenship, he had a massive block in the last game, and those are just the kind of plays that really stands out with the coaches when they go through the film. You want to be that guy who stands out, because when you have Coyote Awusika, I don't know did he make the practice squad or was he picked up?
I don't know if
we'll go through the roster and all these moves in a later episode, but those plays are what separates from whether you make the team or if you're going to on the practice squad. There's a guy like Reed Blankenship, after the hit that he put on in the Dolphins game, he wasn't going to clear waivers like an Andre Chauncey did, because Andre, he had a good camp and he's a good player. He can play ball, but he's also a little bit more likely to go on the practice squad because maybe he's not really doesn't have the same momentum as some of the other guys going into the waivers.
I was surprised Devin Allen didn't get claimed. I actually thought a team was going to take a flyer on him.
Yeah, but he went unclaimed.
Yeah, I thought Howie's probably going to be a little nervous letting him go, because people just take flyers on athleticism, and he's one of the fastest men on earth. So, but it's good to see that he got back on the practice squad. Him and Britton Covey are kind of 2 interesting guys that can land on the practice squad, and it's cool that they got them both back.
Yeah, I think overall take on the roster, on paper, wow. Mm-hmm. What a job. Yeah. And it's all up on it's all up to the coaches whether they can utilize this talent that's been put together on the team. I think the practice squad looks really intriguing.
Yeah. It's time for Jalen Hurts and Jonathan Gannon to step up. Those are the 2 guys. Yep. Thomas, next time
for Jonathan Gannon to step up.
Yeah, exactly.
One last nugget. I'm sorry. One last nugget. If Jonathan Gannon falls flat this season, and the defense is not at all what we expect this to be a top 10 defense. It should be a top 10 defense. Anything but that is just massive disappointment. If you can't make this defense work, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You can't be an NFL defensive coordinator.
NFL head coach? Who's going to get coaching looks?
That's the other thing. If he nails this, he had a bunch of head coaching interviews this offseason. If he nails this season and the Eagles are a top 10 unit, he's
gone.
He's probably gone. Mm-hmm. And who has been spending the entire offseason with the Eagles, roaming the defense and being in sort of an advisor role, but really getting paid head coach money from Denver Broncos?
His name is Mr. Vic Fangio.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think
the same defense.
Yeah, I think it's John again's last year here, and no matter what happens. But you're 100% right. All right, I got to get out of here. Next time we'll talk, will probably be Lions preview. I'm guessing, right? Game one. Game one is in about. I think we're 11 days away. That'll probably be the next.
We should do the show before that.
Yeah, maybe we could squeeze in one more, kind of just gloss over the roster where we didn't get enough into it. But unfortunately, I got to bounce. Thomas, thanks so much for jumping on. I know you kind of rushed home for this. Really appreciate it. Guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure to check out division preview episodes. We're already into the NFC. Tons of great content there if you want to get ready for the NFL season. And we will talk to you later.